His honesty, his integrity, his commitment to his faith and his family, his big heart, and his love, deep love of our country.
That is Vice President Kamala Harris talking about President Joe Biden as he recovers from COVID. It's the first time we've heard from the vice president since the commander-in-chief took himself out of the presidential race and endorsed Harris to take his spot. Today's support for the vice president continues to build. Thank you for watching WCCO. I'm Shayla Reeves. Right now, developments are still rapidly unfolding since Biden's big announcement. Our Esme Murphy is tracking all the latest information, including a show of support for Harris from Minnesota's DFL governor. Esme.
Good afternoon. I can tell you this. Governor Tim Walz took to X, formerly Twitter, to show his support for the vice president, saying he got a call from her and that he fully endorses her. Here's a look at that post. Walz's support is notable because he is the chair of the Democratic Governors Association, and perhaps even more significantly, he is chair of the Rules Committee at the Democratic National Convention. A note about that black and white picture he tweeted. It was from the vice president's March visit to Planned Parenthood in St. Paul. Walz is just the latest high-ranking Minnesota Democrat to endorse Kamala Harris. In addition to Walz, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan and Attorney General Keith Ellison are also endorsing Harris, as are almost the entire Minnesota Democratic delegation. That includes Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith, as well as Representatives Angie Craig, Betty McCollum, and Ilhan Omar. Representative Dean Phillips, who was the only person who ran against Biden for president, says he would like some sort of open process to choose the Democratic nominee. But time is running short for Democrats. The Democratic National Convention is August 19th through the 22nd. Right now, President Biden's 3,800 convention delegates are essentially free agents. They could theoretically vote for whoever they wanted. But one of Minnesota's 93 delegates, Senator Nick Friends of Mankato, says he and other Minnesota delegates are enthusiastically endorsing Harris.
She served as the vice president for enough time that we know what she's about. She's a prosecutor. She has the support of a lot of people whose respect I trust. And in listening to the people in my district, I think that's who they think is the best choice.
Senators Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar have quickly made their support known.
I enthusiastically and proudly support Vice President Harris. You know, I got to know Kamala when we served in the Senate together, and I know her to be a person of great integrity, high capacity, very bright, and very connected with what it is that Americans are thinking and feeling.
I don't think this is a time you can mess around. She brings the receipts. She's someone that has actually already had the experience of meeting world leaders across the globe. She's someone that stood by President Biden's side as they got us out of that pandemic.
Two notable exceptions to the Harris wave: former President Barack Obama and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have not endorsed anyone yet at this point. Both have previously said they would support some form of open selection process. Nationally, Democrats, for the most part, are mirroring what we see here in Minnesota, with elected officials and delegates announcing support for the vice president. And of course, Kamala Harris has perhaps the most important endorsement of all, current President Joe Biden.
And of course, we'll continue to follow these developments. We know you'll keep a close eye and keep us posted. Our Esme Murphy reporting. Thanks so much, Esme. Vice President Harris has raised nearly $50 million since announcing she would seek the Democratic presidential nomination. Nicole Skenga reports from Washington, D.C. on the aftermath of the shocking announcement.
Vice President Kamala Harris made her first public appearance at the White House since announcing she would enter the race for the Democratic presidential nomination.
And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched.
A growing list of Democrats have thrown their weight behind Harris.
She has been a strong leader on the national stage. She is someone that's going to be a unique candidate when she goes up against Donald Trump.
It comes after President Biden made the momentous decision Sunday not to seek re-election. In a letter posted online, he wrote, "It is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
Harris can't officially become the nominee until more than 4,600 Democratic National Convention delegates have their say. An open convention is still possible next month if there are challengers.
A lot of people would like to see a mini primary. That's the process, to find out if you have the strongest candidate, whether it be Kamala or whoever else.
On CBS Mornings, independent Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia called for other candidates to emerge, but ruled out running himself. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson questioned the legality of Democrats switching candidates.
It would be wrong and I think unlawful in accordance to some of these states' rules for a handful of people to go in a back room and switch it out because they don't like the candidate any longer. Former President Trump said Biden was not fit to serve from the very beginning. Harris's campaign says it took in nearly $50 million from grassroots supporters Sunday. That's the biggest fundraising total for any candidate this year. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, Washington.
Today, Andy Beshear, the Democratic governor of Red State, Kentucky, also endorsed Harris. He said he would consider being her running mate.